Hey everybody, welcome back. So in this video I'm going to be taking a look at the Arccaptain CUT55 Pro Plasma Cutter. This was sent to me by Arccaptain for the purpose of this review, and it is currently under $300 on Amazon. I'll put links below, there'll be affiliate links. So let's get it out of the box and take a look at it and see what... So I got it out of the box and out of all the packaging so I wouldn't put you guys through that. It is very small and light. I think the packaging says 11 pounds, and I'm guessing that's probably what it is. Comes with my favorite torch, the AG60 torch. I really like this one. Has a standoff on it so you can drag the torch without destroying your tip. This is pilot arc, of course. Torch is 10 feet long from the tip to the plug. And there is a spot on the top you can connect the strap to. And it does come with a strap if you want to carry it with a strap. It has about a 6-foot long power cord that terminates in a typical American 50 amp, 220 volt connection. And then there is a 220 to 110 adapter. Comes with a 10-foot ground clamp, which is nice. Comes with this style of air hose, and I have an issue with that. We'll talk about that in a moment. Comes with a couple of extra nozzles and tips. Comes with some cool looking stickers and comes with a pretty decent looking manual. Oh, and there's also a pretty cool dust cover. I mean, I've never seen one of these with this before, and I never thought I needed one, but here it is if you do. So I'm sorry to have to do it, but right off the bat, I'm going to have to cover one of my pet peeves, and that is this type of connection. Arccaptain in America, we do not use this for compressed air. We use, quick release fittings like this. We put this on the end of our hose. We put the other quick release end, which I have one right here. We put that in our device, and we can just plug in our air hose in and out to anything we want. Normally, I wouldn't complain. I'd just remove that and thread my quick release fitting on, but I can't get that off. There is so little of the flats exposed, and it has been tightened down so much, I can't remove it. So Arccaptain, if you have to put those on, don't tighten them way down. And even better that, put it in the accessory bag with the other accessories. So on the front of the machine, we have the digital display. We have the control knob. And I'm very, very pleased to say that the knob has solid detents. There is also a mode button that changes 2T to 4T. There is the ground clamp connection. The main connection for the torch is under this rubber thing. There is the connection for the pilot arc wire and the connection for the trigger wire, all of which you will see mirrored on the end of the torch itself. That's the whole front of the machine. There is nothing on the sides other than the pretty red paint and the logo. In the back, we have the power switch, we have the wire coming out, and we have the regulator with the water separator. I'm very happy to see a water separator on it. And then we have the gauge, which I'm happy to see is off to the side. All right, just temporarily, I have plugged this into my 110 volt, not the 110 volt 30 amp circuit I weld and cut on, but just the one that my bandsaw and drill press and things run on. And I've got the torch and ground hooked up, and I don't have any air to it yet. I just did this so we could take a quick look at the screen and I could discuss 2T and 4T, and maybe we'll try the app too. So the power switch is in the back right at the top, and it's pretty big so it's easy to feel. So we switch it on. Now this supposedly has a smart fan. The fan should probably start up when it turns on, and then once it realizes we're not cutting after a minute or two, it should power off. So on the front we have the digital display. It tells us the voltage we're plugged into and 2T and 4T, and it's maxed out now at 35 amps because I'm on 110 volts. And we can go from 20 up to 35. Fan just shut off, that's nice. No pun intended, but I'm a big fan of smart fans. Most shops are loud and you won't even hear another fan running. But if you're working at home, you do. If you're working in your own little home shop, you absolutely do hear a fan droning at you constantly. So it's nice when they shut off when you're not using them. I really do appreciate that. So the mode button switches between 2T and 4T. And for those of you unfamiliar with that, the T means trigger presses. So 2T means you pull the trigger once to turn it on, you let go of the trigger, and it turns off. 4T means you can pull the trigger and it starts to cut, and you let it go and it keeps cutting. It doesn't stop cutting until you pull the trigger again and release it. So anyway, that's all that's for, and that is pretty much the entire front of the machine. So let's take a quick look at the app. First of all, you are going to need to make an account in order to use the app. So when you start the app up, it's going to ask to connect to device. So I'm going to click to connect to device. It's going to find the device. Now it's going to ask for permissions, location permissions, which you can tell it approximate or precise, and only this time. And then it's going to ask to be able to use Bluetooth, which it needs. What it will not ask for is to access your photos, your videos, your contacts, your phone records, things like that. So it has found the CUT55 Pro. I'm going to tap connect, and it finds it quickly. And I think we just tap on it again here, and it shows us our current settings, cut and 2T. So I can tell it to change the cutting current, I can tell it to change the operation mode, and I can tell it to change the post-flow airtime on it. But let's change 31 all the way to 35. So it absolutely works to control the settings on the machine. I have been trying to figure out what Arccaptain recommends as max cutting thickness on 110 and 220, and it's really kind of hard to come up with an answer. They claim max clean cut is 1/2 inch and max cut is 3/4 of an inch, but in another spot they said max cut was 15/16. It does seem like they're recommending a 35 amp circuit for 110 and 50 or 55 for 220. I don't have that. My 110 is 30 amps and my 220 is 35. I'm not going to try and achieve anything like 3/4 or 15/16. Arccaptain did request that I cut on both 110 and 220, and on clean metal, painted metal, rusty metal, and on different types of metals, including aluminum, stainless steel, mild steel, and copper. The only copper I have floating around, other than pennies, they're not even really copper anymore, is a tool that I use to back up welding, and I really don't want to cut that up, so I really don't have any copper. I have a chunk of aluminum, which is 1/2 inch thick. I have some thin, rusty painted metal. This is 1/16 inch. I have some thicker, rusty metal. That's 1/8 inch. I have some clean, mild steel, or what I call clean, mild steel. I got a couple of pieces of that. I have some 3/16. I have some 1/4 inch. And I have some 5/8 inch. Now, I don't know that I'm going to be able to cut 5/8, but it's sitting around here. You can see I've already failed at it with another plasma cutter, but let's give it a try with this one and see what happens. I also have a little bit of very thin stainless, and yes, despite the fact that it has rust spots on it, that is stainless. And I forget what, this is 3/8 of an inch, and it's rusty and painted. I live in the desert, so nothing really gets very rusty here. One thing I do want to mention is there are some placements of things that I do to make a video that I would probably not do if I was actually working. Also, if it looks like I'm not a 100% experienced master hand with a plasma cutter, it's because I'm not. I use a plasma cutter on and off when I need one. I've used multiple different ones. I've made videos of them, but just remember that I'm not an expert or a master at this. One thing I want to add is that my compressor is right here close, and it is loud, and it is going to start up during this review. All right, I am going to start on 110 volts with the amperage as low as it will go at 20, and I'm going to try. I got some, I don't think I showed it to you before, I have some 1/16 inch thick aluminum. Let's just try it on that. If I hadn't mentioned it, I've got 60 psi dialed into the regulator. So this is like 24 gauge stainless, and we're still machined on 110 volts and cranked all the way down to its lowest at 20 amps. See what we get here. Probably put mine. Here's some 1/8 mild steel. Let's see how it does. I'm going to leave it set at 20 amps. The air compressor just shut off. So let's see if it'll cut through this 1/8 mild steel. Can't imagine it won't, but it cut through that, except at the very beginning. Cut through that without a problem. Let's try it again. This is 3/16. Let's try it on this. All right, I'm going to turn the amperage up to 30. I'm going to stay on 110 amps, and I'm going to turn it up to its max, which is 35, and let's see if it'll cut through this quarter. I can't clamp this piece of quarter down, so I'm just going to have to kind of be careful not to knock it off the bench. Let's see what I can do here. All right, it cut that 1/4 inch cleanly. Don't have a problem with that. That's about as much as I think I can ask for out of it on 110. Before we go to 220, let's see if it'll cut this 1/2 inch thick aluminum. Well, I don't know that ow! Okay, that's hot. Well, I don't know that I'd call that clean, but it cut it. I mean, the cut piece fell right off when it hit the floor. Let's cut this nasty, rusty piece of pipe. Painted and rusty. I'm going to turn it back down to 20 because I don't think it needs to be up so high to cut through. This is only like 1/16 inch. If you're wondering why I'm so jerky, my hose keeps catching on the back and the standoff catches on things, and I suck at this, so that's why. So yeah, it cut through that with that rusty painted, or what may have been painted at one time, material. That terrible cut was all on me. All right, now we're going to 220. I am now plugged into my 35 amp 220 circuit, and I can go from a base of 20 all the way up to 55. So let's see what we can do. These normally work quite a bit better on 220, but I have to admit I was not unhappy at all with the way that worked on 110. Let's start with this piece of rusty tube again, because why not? I'm going to leave it set at 20. Let's just buzz across it and see if I can feel any difference. All right, not surprisingly enough, it felt exactly the same as it did, and that nasty cut, that's on me. So I have here a piece of 3/8 inch thick mild steel, rusty and painted. I'm just going to throw caution to the wind. I'm going to crank this thing all the way up to 55, because rusty and painted and 3/8 inch thick and on a 35 amp circuit instead of the 50 or 50 to 5 they call for. I don't know, let's see what we can do. Not surprisingly, it went right through it. Let's do it one more time. Yeah, not surprisingly, it goes right through that. No issues with that at all. From somebody who's not an expert plasma cutter, I'm perfectly fine with that, especially doing it freehand. All right, I don't know what else I have. Oh, let's do that thick chunk of aluminum again, and then I'm going to try the 5/8 thick mild steel. All right, that's better. So here's this piece of 5/8 inch thick mild steel. You can see I've plasma cut it with something in the past, and I've plasma cut it with something else and failed. So not sure what's going on there. I just don't remember. But let's try it here and see what happens. Maybe 70 psi of air pressure will help me out here a little bit. I'm going to leave the standoff off it because I don't think that was helping me, because I think it's letting the tip be a little closer than what I want. Let's see here what happens. That was me. Alright, I think that was technique. I think that was a technique failure on my part again. It blew back on me a bit, and then at the end, the torch ran into the clamp and prevented me from finishing it. I don't know, I think I was doing pretty good there at the very beginning. I think I was going too fast. And then I think I hit a sweet spot where I was going all the way through it nicely. And then at the end, I failed where the torch banged into the clamp. But yeah, it will absolutely cut 5/8 inch. I think if you were good at this, like I'm not, or if I practiced it a bit, I could probably cut that pretty cleanly. Here's something worthy of note I just discovered. I went to my other plasma cutter that has an identical AG60 torch on it. Well, it's not branded Arccaptain, but other than that, it's identical. And I took its standoff of it, and then I got the standoff off of the Arccaptain, and look at the difference. Look at the difference in height of those. Can you see that? There is easily a, what would you call that, 3/16, quarter of an inch, or maybe, you know, maybe 5-6 millimeter difference in height. With the one that came with the Arccaptain, it's low enough that it is literally dragging that tip, whereas this should be more of the correct height for it. Let me snap that one on so you can see it. That's where that one is. Can you see that? That's holding that torch tip up 3/16 of an inch away from the material. And here is where the one, the Arccaptain, that came with this torch is. This one's a lot. There we go. It is almost dragging. In fact, it is dragging the tip. You can see where it drug it. So I'm not trying to make excuses for my bad cuts, but I don't think that's right. I think this one is right. So just for reference, here are all the cuts I made with the Arccaptain CUT55 Pro, just so you can see how much I cut. I'm sure not all those cuts are going to make it onto the video. I didn't cut the girl out of that. That was something that was done with an EDM machine a long time ago. Somebody was playing with. And so yeah, I cut quite a bit with this, so I feel I've got a pretty good handle on it. So now I get to talk about what I liked, what I didn't like, and what I think can be improved, and whether you should buy it. First off, let's cover what I didn't like, because honestly, they're nitpicks or they were me. The fitting screwed into the back was an annoyance. That fitting not only shouldn't be so tight, it should just be in the accessory package. But that's pretty minor. I can buy one. I probably got a drawer with one of those regulators in it if I really can't get that out. Also, the standoff on the torch tip is not correct, but what do they cost? Like 50 cents? Probably buy a bag of 100 of them for $5. So that's not really that big of an issue. It might throw a new user off, but I had it figured out pretty soon that that was letting the tip rub against the material I was cutting. So that's not really an issue. And the fact that the arc itself would only stay on pilot arc for about 3 seconds, I've never had a machine that did that before. I'm assuming that is a safety feature built into the machine, because the little pilot arc wire is not supposed to be able to carry the entire power of this machine. The arc to the base metal, the metal you're cutting, does that. So once I got used to it, I kind of forgot it was there. It kind of threw me for a little bit, but not a big deal. And that's pretty much it for things I didn't like. So what did I like about it? Well, pretty much everything else. It cut really well. It cut really well on both 110 and 220. I cut 1/4 inch effortlessly on 110 volts. And that's not common for me with these little machines. It cut 1/4 inch so effortlessly, I think I could probably cut 3/8 with it on 110 with a little practice. So that's really good. I like the long torch and ground lead and power lead. I like the big display. I like the detents on the knob. What else do I like about it? I like the smart fan a lot. I think that's just has a lot of really nice little touches that you don't see on, admittedly lesser expensive machines. But how well it cut was amazing. How small it is, how lightweight it is, how easy it is to carry around. Really nice little machine. I think you'd like it a lot if you bought one. Anyway, I think that's it. Thank you to Arccaptain for sending it out. Thanks to you guys for watching my videos. and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.